This is Communicast. It's a story about telling stories of good people doing great things. And breaking news to me is not the emergency on Elm Street or on 93. It's how we're changing society, community, civilization. And I'm fascinated by what you do. I know the word demand generation. I know database. I wrote in DBase 2 and DBase 4 code.
Yeah.
And Dian is the company that just keeps on giving.
Isn't it though? It's fun to watch what's come about of Dine.
And it's wonderful for us in New Hampshire too. So with that, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Sure.
Who you are, what you're doing, and what makes it so exciting for you.
Yep. Excellent. Well, I'll do exactly that. So my name is Josh Verrill. I am CEO and co-founder of a new company called 4am Demand, alongside my co-founder, Heather Stokes. I come from a deep background of digital marketing and B2B demand generation, having now led marketing teams at a couple of organizations that have scaled through demand generation and had successful acquisitions as a result. This is an idea. 4am Demand is something that has been on the back burner and talked about for half a decade between Heather and myself. It's something that we're trying to bring to market, not only for the product and the organization's growth, but also to enable and empower marketers themselves. Having been in demand generation now for, like I said, the better part of a decade, it's not easy. It is a complex thing to get right, and yet it becomes more and more critically important for organizations. Because scaling an organization in today's highly competitive market, really hard. And you can either, pay for a high-powered CMO who's done it before, and then they're going to come in and immediately need all sorts of resources to be able to execute, or you can hire a junior level marketer or two and try and figure it out on the fly. It's kind of one or the other. So we have, over our careers, amassed a large set of spreadsheets and PowerPoint templates and just the stuff that we use to try and execute demand generation. And what we've come to realize is that those are really useful, not only to ourselves, but also to other people. And yes, marketing technology landscape is packed. There is a bunch of people trying to solve specific problems within the MarTech space. We're not taking on any singular problem. This isn't a budgeting platform that we're trying to build. We're trying to build a demand generation platform that puts execution of demand generation at the fingertips of these junior level marketers and gives them the how as well as the now. So how do I do this? Who do I reach out to? How do I, build an end-to-end account-based marketing program? You'll be able to build it in the platform, and you'll be able to leverage the coaching modules, the things that we create as part of the product to walk you through it step by step. And then finally, if that's not enough, we'll have a consulting component with the business. So if you still can't figure it out, we'll have consulting options for our customers, and they can reach out, they can enlist our help and bring our experience into their growth.
Which follows a very, very successful models of product and technology introduction. When it's software, services, and things, some people pick up and run with it. So I'm going to back you up a step, because
Sure.
You and I are talking demand generation, but I'm either going to ask you to define it, or let's start even better. Who's the audience that you're looking for? So who's your customer base, and where do you expect to find them?
Sure. So our customer base will be the earlier stage, high growth company. So companies in the SaaS space, so software as a service, B2B organizations who are maybe through product market fit, roughly $1, $2 to $5 million in revenue, and looking for that sort of next tier of growth, exponential scale. Now, maybe they've just raised some money and they're saying, how do we put our money to work? And work equals growth for the organization. So naturally, the conversation that will happen then is, how do we scale our marketing efforts? Right. And it will be the CEOs of those companies and the marketers that they probably already employ, who will be the direct people that we'll be looking to interact with and engage with, saying, hey, look, we can help. And for the CEO, it will be, here's how the plan can play out. Here's how we can build a demand generation program for you. And for the junior level marketer, it's here's how we can help teach you what demand generation is and how you can become more valuable for this organization and future.
I see that as such an important piece, because it's the mentorship that isn't there, certainly during COVID, particularly difficult to have that mentoring of somebody with the number of years or decades of experience that people like you, Heather, myself have.
Yeah.
So how do you find these people? Is it online marketing, word of mouth? How do they find you?
Yeah, so there'll be a number of tactics that they'll deploy our own demand generation tactics to put ourselves in front of them. It's one of the nice things about the business that it'll kind of grow on itself. So we're very fortunate to have a nice network that we've relied on and we've built over the course of the years. So initially out of the gates, it'll be to reach out to our network and to get them engaged with what we're doing. And then we'll start to, build our own demand generation programs on our platform, of course, that we'll use to ultimately construct and then roll out. And we'll target these folks and we'll give them those two messages. So we can help you scale and we can help you grow within your career. And over time, we expect to, hopefully get them on the phone, build an inside sales motion, and start having more of those conversations. But it will be a motion that we're pretty comfortable with, only because it's what we do and what we'll be selling. So, and
the product improves even faster when you use it yourself. It's the evolution of product itself.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And in all of our conversations, even pre-platform availability, we're getting some really nice reinforcement that if we can solve this breadth of how do you do the bottoms up revenue planning that links directly into a budgeting console that then links directly into the ability to track and monitor and analyze with some form of some machine learning based intelligence. If we can capture that scope, we hope to make it easy. We hope to make it fun, and that's kind of the goal that we're after.
Good. I'm excited. I've got a couple of questions for you, but first I'm going to back up again, just for those people, if we use a piece of it from here, who don't really know demand generation. They've either just gotten out of school, they've come from an old school business. Yeah. And everybody knows about marketing and cookies and all of them. Those would be the follow-on questions. But define demand generation as 4 a.m. demand is going into this business of support, right? What does demand generation mean to me as a potential customer?
Yeah, excellent question. So demand generation is a marketing term that's been brought about specifically around the business to business marketing motion that organizations have been doing. So business to consumer, a lot of times we'll talk about that as e-commerce, and you're driving people to a website to get them to check out and purchase something with a credit card, e-commerce. Demand generation is the art and science of creating awareness around your brand and then using different assets. And by assets, I mean content assets, whether they be white papers or webinars, things of perceived value to create leads instead of actual credit card transactions. So it is the ability to inform somebody, in this case, like yourself, around, a product or service that should, could, or would be valuable to you. And what we're not asking you to do is to purchase it that day, but rather give us your information so that we can tell you more about it. And that's where sort of the demand generation rubber meets the road, if you will. It's the ability to make that a seamless process. So it doesn't feel like you're being tricked into giving your first name, last name, email, but rather you're exchanging it in form of something of value. And maybe that's a white paper with the tips and tricks that you need to be better at what you do, but it also speaks to our service. And then you take the ability to acquire those leads and then you nurture them over time. And again, we're not trying to sell you tomorrow. We're trying to help you understand the value of what we as an organization offer. So we use tools like HubSpot and Marketo, and we set up nurturing streams, and we use emails, and we use ads, and we use landing pages built for you to help build upon that value statement for you. And then we see signals that say you're getting more and more interested. We'll pass you off to our sales team, and that's when you'll start getting phone calls, or that's when we'll start to engage on chat, and we'll move the sale along and hopefully find and strike that value equation for you.
It's an amazing world. That's a really good explanation, and I appreciate that for the lay people who may be listening in or capture this, because this video itself, which goes up on YouTube, if we put sections up,
Yeah, certainly.
the same kind of inbound marketing. Brian Halligan and Darmish, unbelievable job of creating this whole way of putting the demand together. And then you've got organizations like Google, early days of search.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a tougher question followed by the easy one.
All right.
The tough question is, of course, as we go to Google Analytics 4 and all the changes that are coming, the international uproar against cookies and tracking information. Yeah. We're in the middle right now of a mandate from, in particular, Google, which is still a significant portion of search.
Yeah.
That time to website, loading speed is important, but even more important is the elimination of much of the tracking that's available.
Yeah.
So how, when you launch right in the middle of this, to me, it's an exciting pivot, right? Not for you, the industry.
For the industry.
Coming in right as this turn is about to become very serious, old style tracking, only 5 years old, gone.
Yeah.
How do you handle that?
You know what? What's going to force us all to do is to get back to our marketing roots and just to offer, a good quality experience. Yes, some of the technologies that have come about over the last 5 years have made marketing easier. The cookie technology allowing us to, present ads around the web and specific to your experience with us. It's going to force us to build a brand. It's not just going to be about the marketing tactics that we can do to persuade you to come back. We're going to have to create a reason for you to want to come back. And that, I think, will bring about the brand revolution. Maybe not of the 60s and 70s, but I do think you'll see brands, certainly like 4AM and others, creating communities, creating reasons to come back that aren't just the advertising, the retargeting, and some of the cookie technologies that exist. It will be painful for a little while. I think we'll all be hurting for traffic, but I do expect it will create just better types of marketing programs. Even the email is going to change. Already we see it in California. GDPR changed the email game in a big way for anything overseas. And it's coming state by state. And we just have to expect that it will be part of, how we operate in the months and years ahead. And it just means we have to offer people something of quality, whether that's the product.
To me, it's such a key point, because that's when I got excited in having this conversation. It's because of the consulting piece. And what that does more than anything else is when you look at a junior marketing person, somebody coming in to the business, right? You all hear about brand building, but this is real for them, right? How do I build the brand? It's quality. It's making a product of value that people can attest to and come back for more. So you can't just do clickbait, which I think has been a huge problem for everybody. I'm all about communications, helping organizations be seen, be heard, be found. And it comes to being realistic, being authentic, and in this case, teaching that next rising generation of marketers, because it's too easy to look at analytics and go, yep, our leads are doing great, but it isn't lead gen comes in, sales are great, nobody cares, everything's wonderful.
Right.
Leads don't come in, then you've got the witch hunt. What are we doing wrong? And if you don't know your customer and you don't know your brand, it's a tricky thing to do.
Yeah, no, it most certainly is. And you can envision this world where everybody starts to recognize that. And, we talk about the alignment between sales and marketing and how incredibly important it is. And everyone will tell you they have it, and not many people actually have it, because that is the scenario in terms of, when the leads are good, sales is killing it. When the leads are bad, marketing's not executing. But as we move to this world where it's about the complete experience, I think we'll start to see new roles come about. I have this belief, and it'll get tested, because I'm going to start to say this more and more often, but I think your future CROs are today's demand generators, today's marketers. And I say that because we have, over the last 5 years, gotten ourselves closer and closer and closer to the sale to try and justify the existence in marketing, what it is that we're doing, and understanding how to manage pipelines and how it relates to our impact on the business. The minute you add this need for end-to-end brand, end-to-end customer experience, and an overall sort of satisfaction on the customer level, I look forward to getting more involved. in those conversations.
CMOs have always been the most vulnerable in an organization. You know, the first one when it's on a down cycle, first to go. You haven't
Yep.
proven your worth. There's no revenue tied. But it's
Yep.
interesting looking at your background and Heather's. She's followed your footsteps, right? You had demand. She's followed into that. You're a CMO at this point. So
Yep.
it's an exciting. You're building a legacy of experience, which I think is really important when you talk about teaching, consulting, and providing an experience for the inbound customer, the person who finds you.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate you saying that. It's funny because, you know, Heather's obviously she's not here with me today, but
Can't defend herself.
that's right. But she joined me at Dine, and that's where we met and we started working together. And she already had a number of years of demand gen experience. So much of what I've learned has come from her. And I think her ability to teach it and her passion for it is part of what gets me so excited about what 4 a.m. will mean. Because yes, we want to go create an amazing organization that is successful in its own right, but it really is about the employees of 4 a.m., the community we create together here in Southern New Hampshire, as well as around the country, because we'll be mostly remote, but also the way that people feel when they use our product. So that's where our brand will come from. And that's what will hopefully keep them coming back, is that they'll feel good when they come to 4 a.m. and they'll feel like they can learn and they're with other folks who want to learn like they do, and they're getting better as a result. And if we can, I won't worry about cookies or tracking technology or email if we can nail that.
So now the question I've been dying to ask from the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
Why 4 a.m.?
I love that question. So 4 a.m. pays homage to New Hampshire. Most people aren't familiar. I wasn't at first. We found this out. But a gentleman by the name of Levi Hutchins, back in the 1700s, created the very first US-based alarm clock. So he invented an alarm clock here. The alarm clock had been made overseas. Very first American-made alarm clock in Concord, New Hampshire. He set it to go off every single day at 4 a.m. because that's what time he wanted to go up. He wanted to get up in the morning. So 4 a.m. Pays tribute to the great state of New Hampshire, where we're being founded, where I have the opportunity to live.
Early riser, first in the nation.
Bingo. And then we've got a number of other stories around the number of nights that we've laid in bed awake at 4 a.m. stressing about the business. Our job, our goal for the people we work with is they don't have to stress anymore. They've got us. We'll do that for them. But that's the true story behind 4 a.m.
Love it. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So anything from a messaging standpoint that you would like to have out there? If I were to post this whole video right now, I think it stands alone really well.
Yeah.
So I guess my question would be, if you had, that elevator pitch, you got the 30 to 60 seconds without using the jargon of demand generation.
Yeah.
Talk to me about 4 a.m. I love the fact that it's a New Hampshire launch.
Yeah.
And what's that singular message that people will find online, because it's either the quote or the hashtag, or it drives the call to action more than anything else.
Yeah. So I think at the heart of what we're trying to do, so embracing our New Hampshire roots, is to create a business that inspires people to be better, bolder marketers. And that can be as an organization, that can be as an individual, and that certainly will be as 4 a.m. And when you have a tool and you have a platform like 4 a.m. at your back, you can embrace that, and you can be bold, and you can be better. And if with nothing else, everything else aside, if we can do that, we'll be happy with what we've created.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.